This week, I've teamed up with some of my closest friends in the One Piece community to sit down and discuss anything and everything One Piece 1043. We're going to go over our theories on what that final panel meant, what we think the future of Wano Country is going to look like, and just all around have a good time. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and relax for this very special mini reverie on One Piece manga chapter 1043 and beyond.
Do you think Luffy died in 1043 for a moment?
Not really.
And then he came back. I think he did. I think he did.
At least in that moment, yes.
I think not really. I think it's a not really.
You can go back. You can go back to when Corazon died, when other characters have died, and it's the same onomatopoeia over Luffy's head.
Yep.
So
I can give you a full-blown theory on why I think he's dead.
Please, by all means, go.
Okay.
Oh, she's got a pencil.
She's ready to go.
So Kaido said, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something along the lines of, you don't live until you've experienced death. Hang on, I have it in my notes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, death completes a person.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
something along that
that's
line.
right. I fully think that Kaido knows more than we do about Joy Boy. I personally think that what happened at the end of the chapter is that his devil fruit is awakening, and this devil fruit was originally Joy Boy's devil fruit, and this devil fruit carries the mantle of Joy Boy. So when that awakened, the mantle of Joy Boy came on Luffy. I think that Kaido was aware of that, and that's why he said you don't move like rubber. That's why he said you can't be Joy Boy when he took him down and he didn't transform or take on the mantle or whatever. And I think that he knows that it's in death that happens, and that's why he was trying to provoke death from Luffy. I also think that Shanks knows all this as well, because he's the one that stole the devil fruit, and he went over to the elders and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you on behalf of a certain pirate. I think he told the elders what fruit he actually has, so that he could provoke the elders to sentence Luffy to death, so that Luffy's devil fruit would be awakened in death, and Luffy would take on the mantle of Joy Boy.
And to add one
that lines up with everything there.
Yep. One more thing to that also adds to why Kaido wants to die so badly and not just the Oden thing. Because the Oden always made sense. Him wanting to die so badly and trying to do it. And then even like that conversation that was in that one flashback with King as well, talking about Joy Boy and bringing that up as well in regards to Kaido and like Kaido being this important figure. I do think it all sort of ties together. And on the topic of Joy Boy's devil fruit, exactly what you just said, Murphy, and I think we've all seen this theory at this point. All of us have talked about it. One Piece chapter 1039, there was that color spread of the monkey pointing at the tree sap, and then now all this other stuff is coming out about how there's the tree sap that comes out of the rubber trees that can actually turn into
the
rubber, the resin,
and
the
resin,
things being able to be preserved in the resin, potentially being Joy Boy,
casting,
exactly.
How many times have you heard the words resin and polymer in the last?
Too many.
Because About Me was about 500.
At least the same amount of time that when the Gear second chapter came out, I heard the words vulcanization.
Vulcanization.
Exactly.
But also the
like everyone is like now like a resin expert, and everyone's like how to do casting. I'm like, what?
That Wikipedia article on
the point of resin, I've got a video that's going to be coming out about that as well. And
will it be out by the time this is out?
What's that?
Will your video be out by the time this is out? Can I link it in the cards?
It should be.
Good.
It should be.
Good.
When is it going to be out?
All right.
Sunday.
So in that we'll have panels and all kinds of stuff to go about this.
We need to get like a chemist or somebody that actually knows about like liquid rubber and how this works.
Because I got a problem with resin. I really do. I got problems with resin.
Is a rubber expert.
Oh my God, you did it! Yes. Okay, good.
So they even put a Reddit post where they're like, I work with polymers, I work with rubber.
Oh,
like,
thank God, somebody knows.
Did a whole thing, right? But what I'm going into is actually like how far this has actually been foreshadowed, and this goes back to Sabati Archipelago. I went back and I reread the archipelago.
Yeah, the mangrove trees.
I reread the beginning of Fishman Island, and the bottom line here is that Oda has been setting this up. Like, Sabati Archipelago is basically just one long exposition arc for what we're going to get.
This man is
creating bubbles, running on top of bubbles, preserving himself, coding himself. I just cannot wait for the moment when they have to make a quick getaway or go back to Fishman Island, and Luffy takes his hand and coats the ship himself. What took Rayleigh 3 days is going to take him 3 seconds. They're going to go underwater. He's going to be able to coat himself, fight Akainu, fight other people, basically emulate Mr. 3. Against
I've heard it's like it's heat resistant too to a degree, so I could picture like him going up against like Akainu now with that. Yeah,
and also
everybody's big thing about this. Yeah, just to finish this off, everybody's big thing about resin is why is the Gorosei upset about resin now? Why does this have anything to do with this? Why would this be important? Okay, well, I mean, what if Luffy can coat himself and then now he can swim? And you go back to the beginning of Fishman Island. What Caribou calls a diving suit, which is just a bubble.
Yes, and then you
go and fight. The Kraken, right?
Yes.
But there's a panel of Luffy shooting his elephant gun out of the bubble, and then he's like, this hurts, right? But that's not going to be the case anymore, because he'll be able to be underwater and just coat his entire arm, stretch it out, and just there's so many capabilities about all of this.
Do you think that
the resin has ties to... There's no idea out there that the resin has a capability of interacting with like the great trees of One Piece. So like there's the 2 trees of Eve, and then there's Adam tree, and then so the idea was like you can actually like tap into that tree somehow through like the natural resin, which would give Luffy a way to kind of, because like the main onus I think here, whatever Luffy is, it should be able to counter whatever Emu is. I think that when you look at Skypiea. Like, Skypiea, I think, is like a big microcosm of the entire story.
Yeah, I've heard that before,
NL is countered by Luffy's rubber, so Emu should be countered by Luffy's awakening, essentially. That's like the main thing here.
Yeah.
So that's why I think, okay, if the resin if it is actually resin, which I hope it's not, but if it is actually resin...
I think it is. Well, what do you think?
I was going to say, what do you
know? I reread Sabati. Like, it's...
So, I mean, going with the whole sticky thing, because I have questions about the whole, again, I'm not a rubber expert here, but I have questions about, number one, the sticky. Luffy's never been sticky before. That's a bit weird. So, I've never seen that sticky thing before.
Rubber can be an epoxy. It can be...
It can be, but as far as I understand.
It could be able... Like, imagine, we'll take it back to... All right, so, Luffy's always pulling something from like his fights. Like people have brought this up in the past that when he retracts his arms for Gear Second, that's him sort of emulating Bellamy. You could even say that when Gear Second happens and he's moving his legs kind of like springs as well.
Yeah.
When in Arlong Park he sees Genzo with the pinwheel, he gets the idea for Gomu Gomu no Pinwheel, right? Everything with Katakuri in Whole Cake is going to come out as just a training arc for how Luffy's going to be able to use his awakening.
That's why
that's the thing. That's going to come out too. It's like it's like Katakuri. I mean, will Luffy be like another version of Katakuri essentially?
I want him to turn into a donut like immediately. That would be so funny.
It's really odd to have just like another character's movesets kind of emulated and then like replicated in the main character.
It wouldn't be
like they'll be very similar. Like sticky.
Yeah.
I don't know how air works because I know that I understand.
That is my
resin casting. Well, as far as I understand, resin casting, stuff like that, you actually want to like remove air from resin casting in order to have like good resin casting. Like air and resin, I'm not like how does it work exactly? I'm not too sure exactly because when you pump things in air, like with rubber, okay, it expands. With resin, I don't think it works that way at all. So like it's a bit weird that when it comes to the sticky and the air components. So it could be the case. Obviously, it's resin. But he also could be like still transforming into like something else entirely different.
King,
and like we're seeing like the first step of that transformation.
King, clearly you never played with those like sticky things you blow into the straw and it creates a balloon when you were kids. Yeah, clearly you never had one of those.
No, I think so.
No, they were fun. They were fun.
That would also, though, I think, be interesting from a story perspective, though, right? Like, if Luffy has been utilizing his Devil Fruit, but not even close to, like, his maximum capability, like, he's been growing this entire time, but growing incorrectly. Like, he's literally been using it wrong because he thought he had a different Devil Fruit. And this opens up, like, a whole realm of possibilities. But... real quick,
of course,
going back to the resin thing, because we were talking about it, but then like moving back, in terms of other things that you guys might not be aware of, like other theories that people have thrown out there, I had like a whole 2-hour long live stream last week, and so we went over pretty much like every other theory that was in the book. And one thing that was brought up, going back to the mangrove trees and that moment in Sabaody Archipelago with Robin, Oda has mentioned on multiple
occasions, more than just the Robin thing.
I know, there's a lot, but like, In particular, Oda went out of his way when people asked him, what are your favorite scenes from the series? He said, I can't wait to draw the end of Wano Country, but my other two favorite scenes are the party around the fire in Skypiea, which obviously like Nika. And two, the one where Robin is wiping the sap on top of Usopp. So that's like a huge
That's what he does. He
There's more. 1043, chapter 1043. I wish O'Hara was here because we could talk about this with numerology and numbers and what everything means in terms of translation.
Jushi Resin Man.
Exactly. Yeah. Resin Man, or to go one step further, exactly the Jushi no Mi being the same chapter, having this be revealed during this chapter. I mean, there are so many things that ties to this, and if you look in your volumes, the SBS for chapter 69, right afterwards, someone asked the question to Oda, what type of rubber? I know you've got it. I got it over here too, Tekken. But you know what? I'm talking, so you can go grab it. Chapter 69, in the SBS, somebody asked him, Oda, what type of rubber is Luffy? Is he synthetic rubber? Like, what type of rubber is he? And then Oda says, natural rubber. And there's like a little thing that's crossed out in the SBS, and Tekken will find the exact wording, whatever it is. I don't remember.
When I eventually get there,
to be honest, I'm surprised Tekken even needs the volume. This man's the One Piece encyclopedia. But regardless, it's like, there are too many ties to this being something to do with like tree sap or resin, or specifically like the sap of a rubber tree. And going back to what King was saying with the ties potentially to like the devil fruit trees, to Adam and Eve, to like the original devil fruit. The idea that potentially there is this devil fruit that then goes back to what Randy was saying, that could potentially coat you underwater. Like there's been all this talk about, is there eventually going to be a water user, right? Are we going to get like some
the water fruit.
The water fruit. Exactly. Time and time again. This is your way to get around that. To have a broken devil fruit where the devil fruit can actually be used underwater because the capabilities of a fruit, the resin fruit, coating yourself. I feel like that Tim and Eric sketch where you've got like all the numbers and the little mind blown thing. Murphy, please take it away.
No, just to add to what you're saying, I've been told, I haven't verified, but I've been told that when Oda was asked if Luffy lived in our world, what ethnicity he would be, he said Brazilian.
Brazilian.
So that really adds to what you're saying.
Exactly. That the rubber trees
in Brazil. Alba-Odi is Portuguese, has the Portuguese word for soap in it. So
this man has the greatest skill to talk about things as like a joke, and it's like you have to take everything he says seriously, except when he isn't serious, when sometimes he is. It's so like... He's been trolling us for years with this, and it's brilliant,
Yeah.
But I think a lot of this is also... this is what I want. My tinfoil thing that I really wanted to all tie into is with tinfoil.
Oh my god, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I have a brick, but you have a tinfoil hat. We all have our favorite little...
That's great.
So I want this to tie into gigantification. I want to see a situation where...
That's what I want.
Where if Luffy can...
giant Luffy?
All of this resin, right? I want to see him produce it, eat it, and turn into a giant.
Resin being giant Luffy, I need like it's a rare candy and just levels up. Like it's Mario mushrooms, he just powers up and gets bigger. Yeah, roll that thing. Roll that, please.
Well, I mean, he could also create sort of a, like turn himself into a giant toy as well. So, I kind of expect moves like that, where he's creating the resin, hardening it, creating a literal snake as he's doing Black Mamba and Snake Man, hardening the teeth. He has all these gun attacks, animal attacks. He can literally turn himself into these things almost like he had Kanjuro's fruit. He could emulate Mr. 3. He's already seen Mr. 3 use wax to create swords, create mallets. There's a lot of stuff like that, but I want this fruit and Joy Boy to be responsible for a lot of the unexplained gigantic things in this world. That's how we get ancient, the ancient Oni race. That's why Onigashima is so large.
And I've always liked the idea that the rubber fruit somehow did tie to the giant stuff, like the experiments. Because then that would also go back to like why the government wanted it so much, because we already know that about the experiments.
That was my vision when that chapter came out. I was like, this has to tie into the gigantification.
Yeah.
Because then it can become a menace.
Yeah, it's kind of like how, you know, the Tenryubito were obsessed with dragons, which is why, you know, they have all the artificial dragons running around everywhere.
Big Mom literally said that if she had the Giants on her side, she would be king of the pirates. Like, definitively. So the Giants have been so important for a while now, and then they have so much history and lore ties too. You can argue the fourth century, but at the same time, if it's resin, I'm trying to think, okay, how does resin work with gigantification? So if Randy can take my giant thing and make that with his resin thing, then talk to me. I just don't know how that works.
Yo, what's up, Roger? Thanks for having me on this video. My favorite part on 1043. Now, everyone's going to say the Joy Boy scene. Everyone's going to say Zunisha speaking to Momo and mentioning, oh, I haven't heard the drums of liberation in 800 years. And that's everyone's favorite part, of course, so we'll leave that out. I would say I'm a huge Kaido guy. I love Kaido. Kaido's been sensational. This entire arc, he's been amazing. And I think it's just a complete disillusionment in Kaido's face as he sees Luffy fall, as you see the victory panel, winner, Kaido, King of the Beasts. And you just see the CP0 agent be like, listen, I did what I had to do. It's over. I'm going to take my death like a man. And you just see Kaido is just, it's just a testament to how deep his character is that you can see the distraught and a little swirl in his eyes. He's completely disillusioned. He's done. And he just decides, you know what? Everybody's dying. You know, this is the spoils of war. You fought against me and you lost. So everyone's a slave. And it just makes me wonder, Kaido's backstory, is there war in his backstory that maybe he learned that whole notion of war from? It just leads a lot to his character, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a backstory before the Joy Boy reveal. But I would say one of my favorite theories that is going around right now is the fact that, you know, Joy Boy reincarnates in a host, Joy Boy being a host, because it supports my idea that Xebec is also hosting Blackbeard's body. So that's a whole other agenda I have. You know, if you guys want to check that out, that's a whole other thing. But the whole point is, I think Joy Boy is a host. I think he picks who is a suitable host for him, and in the moment in time when they pass, Joy Boy's like, I've been waiting for you, I'm coming for you, yada yada yada. So that's my theory. That's what I think. It's obviously Awakening could be another thing as well with the Gomu Gomu no Mi, but I'm more on the reincarnation host agenda. I'm kind of with that as well. So I'm just excited to see, one, what Joy Boy looks like, what that entails, what kind of abilities does he have. Is it just the rubber fruit that we're seeing tied in with Joy Boy? But for the most part, One Piece has changed. You know, just with this reveal, One Piece has changed, and I honestly don't know what to expect. I think everything's just open and everyone's theories are going crazy, but God, what a time to be a One Piece fan. Thanks for having me, Roger.
Do you happen to have like a doctorate in rubber studies? Because that would be very useful for this.
You know, I'm kind of a rubber expert myself.
There you go. Okay, good.
I don't know. It's so much that I'm thinking about with this chapter. That was interesting that Randy just said, though. You think you want Joy Boy and the awakening of that to be responsible for large things in the One Piece world?
That's like, yeah.
The idea is that the past users of the fruit didn't achieve awakening because they weren't powerful enough, like they weren't worthy enough to actually achieve that. So the idea, I guess, with the Gomu Gomu fruit, or I guess whatever it's actually called, is that you have to have the skill set and the power to do it, to actually achieve awakening. And then once you achieve awakening, you can, when you look at his moveset so far, his gear 3 is, of course, bone expansion. His gear 2 is blood,
circulatory,
and then you have muscle expansion. All these things kind of form ideally into something that's like a giant, or like if you have all three at once, you have a giant version of Luffy.
You could create like a giant monster.
There's actually a filler episode where like a giant girl goes inside of Luffy's body.
Lillian's stomach. You don't know Lillian's stomach?
Before Technic even said it, I'm like, I'm proud of myself. This is good.
I faded for a moment there. I'm like, yeah, I was searching for her name. Roger, you're the new king.
That's
okay, something Cole said.
Video yet. We'll see.
Something Cole said that I wanted to ask him. So you don't think Joy Boy that made the apology letter back then, you don't think Joy Boy was awakened? That's how Joy Boy is connecting, or how Zunisha connecting Joy Boy with Luffy? You don't think that's because of the awakening?
Well, no, like there's probably like two ideas here. It's like, number one is that Joy Boy itself is the progenitor of either all the devil fruits or the Gomu Gomu specifically. So like every devil fruit is actually a past person that has been like reconfigured their soul into like an actual like this ancient kingdom that's been passed down from generation to generation.
That makes sense, because there's definitely some level of sentience with those things. You know what I mean?
So like, so you're talking like one for all?
But
no.
Not really.
Yeah. Because not one for all.
Let's not inject My Hero Academia into this conversation, please, just for my own sake.
Okay, Flame of Rekka then. Whatever, same difference.
No, what I was going to bring up is it goes back to what Murphy was saying earlier, though, too, because Brago, we sort of did like a poll of do we think Luffy actually died in that moment, right? We're like, and I think it goes back to how the awakening actually happens. And Murphy, you spoke to it a little bit, but like if you want to go a little more in depth in the idea of like, do you think Joy Boy is literally inside of the fruit, or that like the fruit was passed down?
I think it's his mantle. So like
the title,
Yeah, I think Joy Boy was a person, obviously. I mean, he wrote the Fishman Island letter, but then I think that when he died, his mantle is passed on to the next person that eats his fruit, but that mantle can't be unlocked until that person dies and the fruit is awakened, and then his mantle, his spirit, however you want to put it, is now inside that person. I don't think it's like a possession, actually.
I hope it isn't.
I watched your video on it.
Thank you.
And that was amazing. And I loved what you said about, like, you covered every reason why I don't want it to be a possession.
Yeah.
I think that it would come off cheesy. It would essentially be like, Luffy wouldn't actually be the one that's finishing.
Something I forgot to even bring up there, I'll bring up now, is that there is such a prominent theme of One Piece with inherited will. Like, people thought for years, like, remember back when people thought that Roger had to have the Gomu Gomu before Luffy? I'm like, Roger was related to Luffy.
That's
not the point. Yeah, that's not the point. It's just inherited will. I want Luffy to, like, he wakes up, and he's still Luffy. He's like, why am I dripping this weird goo everywhere? And then, like, that's very Luffy-esque, and he can figure out that's like Katakuri, and he goes into a donut or something. Like, there you go. I don't know.
This level of inherited will is a bit more extensive, you know?
But it's not
I don't think Joy Boy is possessing Luffy. No. And people were saying that Luffy could inherit Joy Boy's memories, etc. I'm like, that may be a bit much. That may be a bit much.
Like Founding Titan.
You know, like,
no.
I could see this being like a Cavendish Hakuba situation for a temporary amount of time.
That's scary too.
Like, but I trust Oda enough to be able to do it in a way where if Joy Boy was fossilized in this resin or something and then comes out, right, then we could see an entirely new bag of tricks that from the original user of this fruit that we've never seen, but then Luffy has muscle memory of what that is. And, you know, like, he could get down to the live floor, start, you know, changing his properties between special paramecia, logia, whatever, doing a bunch of stuff that we've just never seen him do, turn into a giant, whatever, and then we just see the capabilities of this. You know, whatever. I mean, this is...
as long as he doesn't teach Luffy something that he doesn't know before.
Paramecia.
I want special paramecia, sure, but
like, I don't want any, like, oh, he's actually mythical zone, so Wukong, like, oh, kill me.
I don't want that at all. I don't want that at all.
Or like, because, like, Katakuri, paramecia, special paramecia, he can work.
That's the only thing I like.
Cool.
I think at this point, any of that is possible.
I just want to read this. I want to read this because I read this past week, and it's from an interview, and it's great because it's somebody asking Oda on, like, why does he not revive his characters? Because there's so many shonen that do that.
Sure.
And he just said, revival of a human isn't natural, right? You know, if a mangaka ends up reviving the dead, he shouldn't have killed that character in the first place. So it really does seem that Oda is not a fan of, they're not going to be like a ghost of Ace coming back to guide Sabo on his way or anything like that. That's not how Oda does things.
He has no problem reviving, you know, Enel and other stuff. I mean, the Enel thing is great.
That makes sense, though. He was dead for like 5 seconds.
I'm raising my hand only because this is very recent for me. And it's the topic of, like, Naruto, right? And I hate making the comparisons with other shonen, but I want to bring this up. I know King's over here, but I'm familiar now.
Oh, don't do that, King.
I'm familiar with, like, Kurama, right? And Naruto, and, like, the way that kind of works. Like, could this Joy Boy thing, and I see King over there, do not flip the bird. I'm asking a genuine question. This ain't a Sakura situation. I'm just asking. Could this be like a Kurama type thing, right? Where, like, Joy Boy is somehow inside of Luffy. Not that he's possessing Luffy, but that he's, like, inside him in some way.
I can tell you
able to tap into those powers.
I can give you a better example than Naruto.
Okay, let's hear it.
This would be exactly like Yusuke Urameshi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Ryzen.
Great.
Yep.
Because every other iteration of the Gum Gum no Mi, according to Gorosei, they weren't awakened, but Luffy awakened it. Because Luffy actually had to be powerful enough to actually awaken that power.
And then die in the process.
And then die. But hold on now, real quick. But when it comes to die, I think it's more like an NL death. Like maybe his heart stopped.
Yeah, for like 5 seconds or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And then just like NL, who can restart his own heart, Luffy's, I guess resin can maybe do this?
It can do everything, King. We've already established that.
Poor Randy, it's like doing everything in the I don't know if that's true or not.
He's going to be able to coach ships. He's going to be able to go underwater now.
Can he go into space?
That's what I was thinking. The underwater thing. The underwater thing I was thinking about.
One, in regards to all this, if we are to believe that this is a new, that he's not rubber and he's something else, which I think we can, we're all on the same playing field there.
Well, it would still be rubber even if it was resin.
Sure. It would be a really satisfying way for Luffy to level up, rather than gear 5th, gear 6th, gear 7th. Instead of shifting, we could shift to I have.
I see what you did there. That's good.
Shifting gears.
Shift into turbo. Yeah.
It would be so much more satisfying. But also, and I'm sorry because this kind of adds fuel to the fake out death apologist, but this would, if we are to believe that Luffy did die and that death awakened the will of Joy Boy, then we could give some credence to Oda never actually killing anyone because death is so significant in this world.
Yeah. After Kinemon, after that moment, I was like, bro, at this point, I don't even care. Like, if Kinemon doesn't die, I'm literally not even going to take up that space in my brain where I'd be upset about it. It's like
everybody
sliced in half, and then all of a sudden it's like, well,
Kinemon was foul.
Everybody lost themselves with that chapter, and I'm so used to this at this point. I'm like, of course he survived.
Kinemon was hit by a Conqueror's Haki attack.
There were. No,
yo, Brago, this man got. Remember, after the attack, Kaido takes his sword
and
stabs this man, and then actually Law never fully.
The Looney little thing that's going down. Like, what were you saying, Murphy? The 3 fake out deaths. It was like
there were 3 fake out deaths in that chapter. I think
in one chapter.
And I would say, okay, yeah, there we go, there it is again. But it was 3. It was consecutive.
Conjuro as well.
Yes. By the end of it, I was actually mad. I was like, you just stop.
I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad Pedro died when he did. Now you know what? It's like he did his duty. He's gone for
Hold on now.
Let's see what this cover story reveals.
You're right about that one. You're right about that one.
You know, Big Mom's gonna get beaten, and then his 50 years are gonna fly right back to him, and we're gonna get Pedro sticking his head out.
The last cover story.
He's gonna save
me. Pound came out of nowhere.
Pound was okay. Pound was kind of inexcusable. I think sometimes Oda wants there to be a happy ending so bad that he just has to rewrite it, and
look, I say this a lot, and a lot of people give me flack for it, but at least Oda used Pound.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, sure. Whereas Pell is just sitting there in the background, like. Hey, I don't even need to speak. Chaka, you got this.
So we're talking about fake out deaths. Luffy died. That was the point of that. Right. Luffy's heartbeat being the drums of liberation.
Thank you very much. Segue God right there we go. All right. Yeah. Because the thing about the drums of liberation that I want to touch on that I think is so cool, and again, this is probably going to be built upon within the next couple chapters or so. I think the idea, because so many of the anime OSTs have used drums in them in the past, I'm like, that would be so cool if all this time ago this was a concept, an idea that like Oda basically threw to the anime team. Because King, I know you know this. You cover the anime. You see all the different changes that they make. I would not put it past Oda and the anime team to have known for a very long time drums are going to be very symbolically important to the story moving forward. Let's try to work them in for all the major themes.
And like there's a lyric in Bink Sake too.
That's right.
Bink Sake lyrics
as well. Exactly.
But monkey drum Luffy. Hello.
The Will of D is drum. There you go.
Drum Island. There's Drum Island, for God's sake. Yeah.
I saw somebody who was mentioned, like, is that why Blackbeard went to Drum Island? Was there something significant
there? You know what? At this point, sure.
Maybe. In real life.
He's calculated, man.
You know what's funny, too? Because I will come out tomorrow about this idea about fake and real Joy Boys in the series all the time alluded to.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Everything. And then
there's actually something that's interesting, too. There's Blackbeard, I think, is one of the predominant figures for a fake Joy Boy, as well as Sebek. Oh, yeah. And then I think when you look at Blackbeard's moveset, he has a skill called Black Hole, and then he has Liberation. All right, which is interesting. And then when you look at the actual skill, and then in that skill set, he has the black hole where he absorbs people or objects, obviously, and then he liberates them from that darkness, almost like the dawn in a way. And then I kind of wonder if there's a connection there between, of course, him and Sebek, who knew all these ties of the world, but how if he wants to control the world through world domination, that's his end game here. And then Sebek is the same way. And then Joel wants to be the freest guy in the world. It's almost like, I don't want to say it's like a fated kind of battle, but more so it's like you have, because Emu should be maybe the final villain, but Blackbeard could be too, ultimately speaking, and he's the main representative of this idea of world domination.
Yeah, my idea
everything and that kind of
Blackbeard is he's just
still thinks Sebek was the good guy.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
That's interesting. Okay.
Well, let's see.
I don't think he was a bad guy that the world government paid him as. I don't think so.
Randy, there's an idea that Gonfall and Skypiea talked about, which is intriguing, where it's not that Enna was a bad guy, but he was a bad-natured god. That's more so than anything else. So rather than evil, it's more so the nature of, let's say, the members of the D clan, where some D clans have a twisted nature, like let's say the Marshall family or the Sebek family, and then so he had maybe good intentions, but he went about it the wrong way because of his nature.
Like you were saying with liberation. I was thinking like they were approaching liberation from two different angles, right? Where for him it's like engulfing the world in darkness and just like a rebirth of the world if everything is gone.
And
which is exactly what I believe happened in the Void Century in the first place. Mass genocide and then reshaping the world in their image.
Orders to kill so many people in the Void Century.
I think that Sebek was trying to air that out. And he was just going about it possibly in wrong methods. I think that Sebek had the same power that Luffy had, where he was able to draw people to him, and that's how he got Big Mom, Kaido, all of this stuff. I think that...
Well, they didn't trust him, calling him Big Mom.
The thing is, I think it was like Sebek using different tactics
Davey back fight.
To gain their fealty.
Just what he and Randy were saying about like right idea, wrong way. That's how I feel about Big Mom. Like a really popular, obviously, theory out there is that the One Piece is sake, that you're supposed to drink together and unite, and that's what Big Mom. That's her goal is for all races to sit at a table together as one family. But she's going about it in completely
in a very twisted way.
Exactly.
Intimidation, and I think that there are a lot of villains that we faced up to this point that have the right goal, but they're doing it the wrong way.
Totally.
Which I think that there's a lot of things that indicate, obviously we all know that this is, in some version, it's a chosen one trope. The story is, like, Luffy has been pegged as a chosen one for so long. But
you can even look at it like with Arlong, because Arlong wanted like freedom for the Fishman, but he went about it by like annihilating all the humans.
Yes, exactly.
You can do it with literally every villain.
Except Doflamingo. He was an asshole. But
from this perspective, from this perspective, every villain that Luffy has gone up to, in some way or another, is a failure or doesn't meet the criteria for something that Luffy is doing or is going to accomplish, especially in the East Blue. When you look at all of the villains, like Oda was creating this world of villains that were basically retired, didn't have any ambition, went to the, Don Krieg went to the Grand Line, got kicked back by Mihawk, was scared, didn't want to go back. Kuro gave it all up. It's like this is completely against everything. Buggy rode on the ship of the Pirate King, but decided, what, I'm just going to look for treasure in the weakest sea.
Right.
Then Arlong did the New World thing, did the Grand Line, and then decided, I'm just going to relax on this island and I'm going to subjugate some people.
Big fish in a small pond, quite literally.
So for the most part, all the villains, they have these lofty goals and expectations. Then at some point, something brings them off their perch, right? Where they're like, you know what?
And that's Luffy.
Right.
You know what?
And then Big Mom falls into that.
Right. Everyone, like, even Kaido with the Joy Boy thing, he's like, I guess I'm not Joy Boy. Let me just do something else now,
It's very possible that Kaido wants to dismantle the world government. And he's just doing it the way that he's doing it.
Murphy,
we all cut off Murphy though.
I was going to say, I didn't cut her off. I'm like, this is what happened. Sorry.
So that's why I think. So obviously, we're doing a chosen one. We're doing some variation of chosen one. There's been breadcrumbs for that throughout the whole series. But I think that Oda has potential to do something really unique with it, because I think that if we can look at all the villains and everybody that we've faced, they have the correct ambition, but the wrong way of going about it. And I think, especially with this Joy Boy thing, if we're to believe that this is Joy Boy's fruit and it carries the mantle or the will, whatever word you want to use, of Joy Boy, then it's not a matter of Luffy was the chosen one, he was destined to, but rather it's a matter of, by sheer dumb luck, Luffy got the fruit. But he could have easily lived his life with this fruit and never awakened it and never gotten it.
Right. That's the key thing here.
If Luffy never left Dawn Island, he would not be the chosen one.
Yeah, so that's what I think Luffy. So there was something that I think it was Sandman of All on Par talked about months ago, where he explained how Kaido's name also means Joy Boy, but also Strong Kid. They have like the same concept.
Yeah, there's it's a Japanese myth about like the strongest. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, but if you also put a U at the end of his name, you can say that it's King of the Seas.
King of the Seas.
Fair enough.
A long O sound.
Which is why I think Rox gave him that name. Just I don't think that Kaido gave King his name.
King his name. Yeah, I didn't think it was his actual name after I saw that. I was like, Kaido gave his name.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. But I think the idea here is that when you look at, let's say, Luffy and how he's come this far with his powers and how he had to overcome all these hurdles, like ever since Aokiji, when he realized, okay, like I need to get stronger like my friends, and he learned Gear 2 and Gear 3, that kind of stuff. I think when you look at Luffy, it's not a power scaling thing, but you look at him compared to like his peers, he is vastly more powerful than his peers. Like, hit 20 years old and under, specifically. So the strong kid motif fits Luffy far more than it does Kaido. And Kaido, he regrets something, like, tremendously. Like, we see in, like, his drunken stupor, where, like, he's crying, like, he tried so hard, but he's failed all this time and time again. And I think, and when we look at Kaido now, compared to the, in, like, the flashbacks, when he fought against Moria, when he's talking to King of Wildfire and seeing him, he's happy, he's giddy, he smiles, like he's ready to go. And then now he's transitioned to like being way more stupid, way more depressed.
Grumpy grandpa, basically.
Exactly. So
it couldn't be Joy Boy either.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so he wanted to be a gatekeeper for Joy Boy, basically.
Now, I need to go back and revisit this, but I'm not too sure how, and I forget, but Doflamingo kind of had the same vibe in terms of like how he wanted to bring in the air of smiles. And I'm trying to figure out how that ties, because he's the Tenryubito, he should be a natural nemesis. Like, his ideals should be, like, his ambitions should be, like, different than all of them. But I think they're, like, the same. Where, like, he wanted to usher in some sort of era of people being happy, but under his control, under his domination. Something like that. I forget what Doflamingo was about.
So I have something fun about this, right? While I was doing the reread of Sabaody to find all of this stuff about resin and everything like that, I just, I was putting together the imagery of the bubbles and then the glass bubbles that the Tenryubito, the celestial dragons, are encasing themselves in, right? So what if, in some sort of weird, wacky way, the whole thing that they don't want to breathe the same air as everybody is actually, maybe it started as an homage to Joy Boy creating resin bubbles. We also have a panel of Luffy, the first time he takes a bubble, he puts it over his head like a celestial dragon as well. So there may be something that we get in that, that Ancient Kingdom flashback or something. Maybe, they say they're the descendants of the creator. What if that's literally Joy Boy's descendants, but they just went in a completely wrong way from all of his ideals or anything like that?
You guys were talking about earlier too, where it's like people are going about it just the wrong way. Exactly.
Right.
Like every villain's gone about the wrong way. Like that's the idea.
It's just trial and error for 800 years until somebody gets it right.
That's kind of something that One Piece kind of exemplifies, right? Where it's like, no matter what it is, like, what is your answer based on the information you got, right? Because even Luffy's answer to everything,
you're gonna have a different answer when you don't have a different answer.
Rago. That is the exact same thing that Rayleigh told them actually a while ago. After that, once you find the treasure, you may come to a different answer than even we did. And so that answer that you guys come to will probably like the correct answer. Randy, real quick, Resin, can you go into space with that stuff?
Can you go into space with
that stuff?
The space thing.
We're going to go to the moon. We're talking to Eneru.
Hey, no.
I'll have to check out with community member Chad Ocho,
in the One Piece world,
who is the resin expert of the One Piece
moon on a balloon.
He's gonna have to give us the answer. We can go into space with whatever.
You can go to the moon, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would work the same way.
I don't see why not.
If he's able to coat himself and go underwater, why not go into space?
We're in a world in which dinosaurs have Looney Tunes physics as well. So I feel like there could be some other way about this.
Whoa. He has a Frankie, all right?
That's accurate paleontology. What are we talking about?
Prove to us it's wrong, Roger. Prove to us it's wrong. Have you met a dinosaur?
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh my god, Murphy. I know you're referencing the video. I know you're pushing a button, but like I'm about to die right here.
Roger, don't undulate.
Oh, I can't do it. All right. Let's bring this back. Let's bring this back.
I'll tell you a little something about dinosaurs. I'll tell you a little something about.
Oh my god!
So, one thing I want to
when a pterodon comes in, and he wants to, we're going full.
Alright, man, so I'm here at a special request from the homie Big Raj, the Don Dada, Raji Raj, you feel me, Rogers Base, man. But we're talking about 1043 One Piece, if y'all, have been Patrick living under a rock. And what was like most exciting to us, and I'm gonna be honest with you, bro, I've never seen anyone looking like they were turning into ice cream right before my eyes. I mean goop, I mean flubber, like literally melting, and been that excited. Luffy's awakening, Joy Boy reincarnation, whatever it is, whatever you think it is, that's what I'm looking forward to, bro. That's like grin at the end had me feeling some type of way, Luffy. I ain't gonna lie. Watch out, boy, because I might have to steal your man. I'm just saying. But nah, all jokes aside though, Luffy and his awakening is what is like got me super hype. The drums of liberations are playing. Is that dum dum? Was that noise Luffy dying, or was it the drums? I don't know. I think the favorite theory that I'm looking at that I like, that I saw, was that Luffy died momentarily, and that is what triggered this, and that's why Kaido is like death perfects a man, and he's always looking for this grand death, because he had the idea in his head, or he knew something about dying and awakening this whole Joy Boy situation. That's my favorite theory. That's what I'm sticking with. Roger, thank you for having me, bro.
Had Luffy's attack connected, would that have finished off Kaido, or would have the attack went through and Luffy would have died anyway?
I'd ask that question. A lot of people feel like Kaido still would have beaten him.
Yeah, I got that impression too. Like I felt like maybe it would have been enough, but you never know.
Does it give the same feel as Odin versus Kaido, where it's like, because I feel like a lot of people feel like Odin would have won. A lot of people feel like Odin would have won. Where in this instance, they feel like Kaido would have won.
Well, I mean,
you guys feel that
Kaido's got to be stronger now too.
Yeah,
it's 20 years later, so
yeah.
But I feel like Odin would have won that fight if it was continued fairly.
Right, that's what a lot of people feel.
I feel
because Luffy normally does like a new attack for the final attack. It was the same Supreme or Overcon gun that he was using against Kaido for the final attack. So that's kind of it's a little bit of a trope there, but I think that's a sign that he was actually going to lose that, because it's the same attack that's using again.
But we knew that attack was not going to work after Luffy was saying, "This is the final thing.
Right, this is
my final gear forward.
Like Kaido would have won that fight anyway.
It was right. So he would have won that exchange. Yeah. But I 100% knew something else was coming after that.
And I'm in total agreement with you, because I was there was like a 10% part of my brain that was worried that Luffy's going to say that in the chapter, right? Say, this is seriously it. Like, I've got nothing else left. The Cypher Pole guy was going to come back in, and it was going to be Flampe all over again, and all of a sudden, he's going to rise up from the ground and be like, oh, but actually I got gear 5. Like the fact that we did not get that, like, to me, it instilled this sense of like, oh good, okay, like I am still reading the same series I read 10 years ago.
It's kind of the same, right? Where it's like Luffy's not done, right? But it's done in a much different way. Where it's like
I'm glad Oda has enough awareness to be like, I can't just have Luffy punch Kaido really hard.
But he said that in the SBS, didn't he? Right?
He did.
He probably had in mind like all the things he wants Kaido to go through, all the people he wants Kaido to fight, and it's like after Kaido beats the Scabbers, like fights Yamato, how do I justify Luffy just coming and punching him hard and beating him? Like, it has to be something a bit more incredible.
It could be the biggest punch ever.
It's not going to make sense, right? So I think how he's done it.
Even now, Kaido could be fighting against Yamato Momonosuke in the future, because we have to see...
he's going to fight them. I think he's going to fight them.
Because Momonosuke, we haven't seen him actually transform into a human just yet, and see what she looks like.
Momonosuke, I want to interject on that real quick, because I feel like that Momonosuke moment where you said he's going to transform into a human, and we obviously had this set up with like, oh my god, you look just like, and sure, there's all the memes of like Whitebeard and Roger or whatever, but like, obviously he's going to look like Oden, right? And I do think there is going to be a moment where Kaido gets shaken by seeing Oden in the flesh once again, and whether or not that actually helps Luffy end up doing a final attack, and it's almost like a reversal of what happened before, where you had like Momonosuke show up and then Oden get thrown off, and then Kaido.
Man, you know what?
The reverse of it, where it's actually like
it would be cooler if Momo had Ame no Habakiri right now. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it.
But
no, wait, we don't know that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't know that. We don't know that.
Hiyori might have it. Hiyori might have it.
Might be like, big bro, I got you. Chuck it on over now that Orochi's done. I mean, like, there's a lot of potential setup with the players that are still currently there in Wano, right? We got Yamato, Momo, we've got Hiyori, probably wrapping up the stuff with Orochi. The Raizo Fukurokuju fight is done now too, so like that is it. Hiyori is still a potential player.
But there is one party pooper that we haven't seen in a while now. Where the hell is Denjiro? It's been like a year and a half.
Okay, okay. So
like, there is a milk carn. Where is Denjiro?
I played no idea who this guy. All right.
If we have a thumbnail for this video, I would do the "Where is Denjiro" for this.
Where is Denjiro? He's gone.
Last time we saw Denjiro, I don't remember the exact chapter number, but we saw one panel of him, and he was just running to an undisclosed location, and that's been at least 15, 20 chapters or something, I want to say. It's been a while.
Longer. I think like the entire year.
A long time ago, I would have assumed that would have been like the weapons area where the bombs were, right? Like where Kazenbo or whatever went down to, and then Big Mom, everything was frozen, and Big Mom like dragged it down with her. And he's not there. So I
think he's heading toward Hiyori and Orochi.
You would think so, but it's like it seems like Hiyori doesn't need him, right? You know?
Yeah, well, I think Hiyori could deal with Orochi by herself.
I want Hiyori to take out Orochi.
Yeah,
I don't. But personally, wait. Take out meaning die?
Kill. Yeah, she literally said that's what she wanted to do.
I think 100% she does not.
Murphy, what was that? What was that, Murphy?
She does not kill him.
I said take him out on a date. You want them to start
take him on a nice
dinner into the void.
Oh my god!
I don't think she kills him. I think Orochi doesn't die.
Honestly, that's what she's been doing for years, making him think that it's like, oh, I love you so much, and it's like, now I draw the sword out of my shamisen or whatever and stab you in the neck.
And the thing is, Orochi. The reason why I think Orochi doesn't die in Wano is because of everything that he's been through from the beginning. It's kind of like. It's trying to change the whole message, right? Where he's suffering from the sins of his fathers. It's like if you just kill Orochi, it's just going to continue the same cycle, right? So how do you end that?
Okay. No.
Right. Wait.
No.
Who wants to bring up the Tama as a Kurozumi theory?
That's exactly.
I was waiting for Randy.
What did you just say?
I was waiting for Randy.
I didn't hear what Murphy just said. What did you just say?
I just said that's the same as Doflamingo. He also is what he is because he suffered for the sins of his father.
Yeah,
got you.
Yeah. You don't continue that.
I'm still waiting for the Tama confirmation. I'm still waiting for that.
Because the thing is, like, if you kill Orochi, what if he has like some strange kid out there, like, hey, this happened, all of a sudden it's like,
I am Lord Orochi's son. I shall avenge my father.
Well get that moment right at the end of Wano Country, maybe even after Kaido's been taken down, right, where you have like Orochi slinking over, like in the middle of the fire festival, and everybody in Wano Country's watching, and he's sort of slinking over.
Holds up to Tama.
You can have that moment, right? Exactly, where Tama somehow has some realization that there's a Kurozumi connection there, and that Hiyori has the opportunity, or anybody else who's there, has the opportunity to kill Orochi, but in full view of everybody, doesn't. And that is sort of the
that changes the whole mindset, right?
Right.
I like changes it.
I mean, to kind of go into Game of Thrones territory with it, there is no way Orochi does not have bastard children in Wano.
Of course,
and that's always been my whole thing. Murphy, if you're not aware, I believe that Tama is Orochi's like out of wedlock daughter, so that it plays onto it plays onto this whole thing, like everything with Momonosuke and like had their friendship and like
have Tama be the apprentice of the ship. I think that's way better for their story rather than just have her just kind of sit there and be aged up so they can be a pairing thing with Momo. No, screw that.
No, I want the Buggy Shanks parallel.
No, I think Momonosuke has to go with the Straw Hats though now, right?
I don't think he will.
I think him and Yamato go with them.
Yes.
Because Yamato's come with no matter what, right?
I think has to go leaving
Wano. But Yamato's not leaving Momonosuke's side at this point, so I think they both go. I think it's a package deal.
There is no way in a million years. I have put money on this. I've said this before. I have put my channel up for betting on this. There's no way.
Wow, Roger.
Get excessive, Roger.
I know, but I mean, okay. Yamato is leaving Wano Country with the Straw Hats. There's no doubt about it. Yamato's the next Oden, going to be carrying on the journal, all this kind of stuff. Like, Yamato will be leaving, but I am in complete agreement with Brago now that I am completely sold that Yamato is not leaving Momo's side. Because I sort of like threw out the idea that Momo was going to be joining the crew because, of course, he's got to be like the next shogun of the country, right? He's got to be that face of the Kurozumi clan. Hiyori can be that. Hiyori can be that now. If they really want to do that, Hiyori is the rightful heir.
I'm okay with Hiyori being the shogun as well. I just feel like,
I'm like, I don't think that there's going to be a Wano to be the shogun of.
Oh, well, yeah, there's also that angle.
True too, yeah.
I think that the world government ships are here for a purpose. They're not just there for show. They're not there to get swatted away by Zunisha, Jack style. The world government is either going to buster call Wano once they realize the Joy Boy has returned, or they are going to annex Wano because they want the materials. All right, everything that the Celestial Dragons are doing with CP0, everything why Sabo, Koala, and Hack were on Dressrosa, it's about these weapons, it's about Drunken Iron ore. So they lost Doflamingo, they lost their middleman, they want to get Kaido out of the picture, they want to get Doflamingo out of, Doflamingo's already, but they want to get Orochi out of the picture, take control of these weapons, enslave everybody on Wano to continue working it, and then they're going to have to leave at a certain point. Right. They're just going to have to get off of Wano. Momo's going to go with them until they can take down the world government efficiently and come back.
Unless they have, I got to see the names on that ship. Because unless they have
like the government,
come on, right? Like they gotta have some players on that ship. Right? They gotta have an admiral. They gotta have an admiral. 3 SSG members because Luffy Jesus is here, boys.
Hey, look, man. If Sabo and a few good men rolled up on 2 admirals, and they were and they were wounded and weak.
Don't start.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
In 985, Kaido was typing them up.
I do feel that the Straw Hats departing Wano is going to be expedited. It's going to be rushed. It's not going to be like we have time for a banquet and we can just leave.
I don't know. I expect a huge party for sure. I expect a huge party, man.
Be a party, but then shit's going to happen and they're going to have to get out of there fast. Okay.
I think the reason why I think Momonosuke can leave, right? I think the Dukes, they're probably going to stay on Wano, right? So I think they can probably run the country until Momonosuke comes back and he's ready.
And the thing is too,
I mean, Zoe's right there.
The idea that Wano needs to be protected afterwards, right? Like we've got the world government and all these other characters there. Right. I do think that Zunisha being there is almost like a bodyguard for Wano Country. Right? Like Zunisha can be parked outside Wano, right?
Yeah.
Put the ship in the water.
Park the giant elephant out back, you'll be okay.
Fujitora can raid as many myths as he wants to. You have a trunk, boom, boom, stop. What are you doing?
And there probably is a specific spot for Zunisha to go to completely change the currents of Wano to make it easily.
That would be nice.
Jack is taking some L's during this arc, but Jack was the first one to take the L from Zunisha. Mammoth Boys all day forever. I'm just saying.
I don't know why people shit on Jack. People should not shit on Jack as much as they do.
Jack is a scrub.
No, stop it, bro.
You know what?
Jack is not a scrub, bro.
Jack did his job, damn it.
Come on, man.
And the guy rolled and smoked.
Time out. Wait.
He fought 2 minks.
Technically, he's the only villain of an arc that won. Technically, he's the only villain of an arc that won.
Take out off screen.
Hold on, I shouldn't have even thrown that in there. Time out. Because
come on, Roger, you know what this is going to do.
I know it was going to happen, I know. But with Murphy's like zooming in like, oh god.
Power is 5, Jack's moveset finally
revealed. No, Murphy, we got a good 10 minutes. You could just, do it or whatever you're doing.
I just want to challenge Randy. Can I challenge?
Challenge Randy. Mortal Kombat.
Calling him out. All right.
We appreciate it.
Theme-wise, it does not work to have this end in a Buster Call or in further enslavement under a new dictator. Theme-wise, Luffy's sole motivator has been to provide food and water to the residents of Wano, and I do not believe that Luffy would be satisfied to take Tama on as an apprentice, and yay, she has food and water, all you other suckers, bye, maybe I'll be back later. Would not work. It's been his sole motivator. I don't think that we can leave them continue to be enslaved under a new slaver.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Which is why the Zunisha thing makes a lot of sense, right? Because Zunisha being the bodyguard of the country, staying there with the Dukes, maybe with some of the other minks as well, right? Protecting the country in the meantime, while Yamato and Momo and Carrot, maybe, but probably not, go off with the...
that might be the sole purpose of what the minks are for. Like, the Dukes, right? They cannot die for a reason. That's what was said. So maybe they're there to watch over Wano while Luffy goes off with Momonosuke and Yamato, and then they do what they need to do, but everybody serves a purpose here. But I don't think, unless they have major players on those ships, they're not doing anything.
And you know, so many of the major players have to be, taking what's going on with the abolishment of the ship at this point.
Also, the warlord thing, Mihawk and all that different stuff. Like,
that's a whole different discussion of like the level of Mihawk. But I feel like
But that was weeks ago.
Weeks ago.
That was weeks ago.
Hancock and Weevil, who we still haven't seen anything from at this point, right? They are major players, and they have to have other major people from the government.
Right, I'm saying that's weeks ago, but how many people did they lose trying to apprehend these warlords?
Mihawk at least wiped out half of the Marines, right?
The whole fleet was gone. The whole fleet was actually gone.
And I don't think Weevil was caught either, right? So
they rolled up on Weevil with some Marines with riot shields. Like that's gonna really do anything.
Weevil got away. I was challenged, guys.
You were challenged.
You're right. Randy has to respond.
I'm muting. Hold on, go ahead.
Response, Randy. Go ahead.
Respond, Randy.
All right. Would I love if we, end this arc with a party and happiness and all this, and Luffy gets to, feed Wano and Tama's happy and all of the people are great? Yeah. But I just think that we are in the point of the story where we are going to be inverting Thriller Bark or the archipelago. I think that Luffy is going to defeat Kaido. We're going to do that. The raid will succeed from that realm. But just like Kuma showed up at the end of Thriller Bark, we're going to get someone that comes in. There might be a player on those ships that while Luffy has beaten Kaido, now he literally is at his limit. He cannot do anything else. Zoro's packed up. There's too much at stake. They just have to get out, and it's not maybe even Luffy's decision or choice. But we know, and then it also is a motivator to get us towards the end game of the story, where now Luffy has, beyond anything that he already has, maybe he'll want to be a man of his word, right? And the world government took that from him. So now, on top of other things that may draw him, like if Sabo is actually captured, which I don't actually know about, or Vivi, or anything like that, or Hancock, because Hancock was originally a slave. If she was captured, she's going to go back to the world government. All of these things could draw Luffy to go up against the world government, but also I just don't see Wano ending without Momonosuke coming onto the ship, and I think the easiest way for Momonosuke to come onto the ship is if there is no island for him to be the shogun of, and then he has a more powerful dream, where now he wants to be the shogun of Wano, and if he physically cannot do that until ABC happens, that's stronger. So that's sort of my motivator with thinking a lot of that.
All right, so rebuttal. Go ahead.
I fully agree with you that this arc will not end the same as the others have. I think that the tone of this arc has been different. I think the way that this battle is going off is different. I'm with you on this is going to end differently, and potentially it'll end on a more tumultuous ground or teetering, safety, and I'm fine with that. I do think that Oda has pushed the themes of oppression to a new level here, and he's dealt with oppression over and over again, but one scene that is burned into my mind is when Queen was shooting the plague at people and said, hold on to Luffy. It doesn't matter if I hit him, I just need to hit one of you. And they all heard it, and they all knew I'm about to die, yet they held on. They've been so heavily oppressed that they've lost all hope in even trying to fight. And we haven't had an arc like that where the entire country is completely not fighting other than just the red scabbards. And I think that with Oda pushing oppression to this level, ending in further oppression wouldn't be satisfying, and it just doesn't feel like Oda to me.
I just think we need some sort of tragedy to move forward, and I'm hoping that we get something soon, especially with Kaido, you know, now on the live floor. I've wanted him to go onto the live floor. We've been hyped up about, you know, Kaido being this grand menace, but we've never seen him on a grand scale. You know, he fought the Scabbards, that's just 9 people, but now him, like, if he can trash everything down to the point where we get, like, a parallel of Enel's game, where now we have 9 shadows, 9 new people standing up against Kaido, saying, you know, we're going to take you down. You know, that might be something interesting. I'd love to see someone actually die. Actually, yeah. You know, that is of meaning. You know, I think, well, you know, we still have to get. Yeah, but someone that we've cared about for a while, you know, like we also need to have Marco fulfill the Phoenix prophecy. I thought maybe he would fly into Kazembo, rise from the ashes of that.
Oh, that would have been cool.
That would have been awesome.
But if Marco sacrifices himself for Momonosuke, for Tama, something, you know, Tama with the Ace connection, something like that, turns into an egg, whatever a prophecy is, that might be something enough to get, and it would go with Oda's whole thing of, you know, killing someone but not really killing them.
If I may interject real quick, I actually see a situation in which both of you could be right? Where you have Wano completely leveled by Kaido, but that actually speaks to the theme of not having further oppression, right? Where the people are now free to rebuild Wano country in the way that they want to rebuild it, right? Like, you can have exactly what you're saying, where Kaido levels the entirety of Wano. There's like nothing left. All the houses are burned down, the factories are burned down, but it doesn't matter because he's not there anymore. And that hope can then rise from the ashes, going back to even what you were saying with Marco, right? It's like,
I just thought of something.
Oh, go ahead.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
All right. So the world government gets onto Wano, right? They start doing things. We have a whole bunch of marine ships or whatever. And now Kaido is keeping all of them at bay or something. If there is a situation where Luffy can't beat Kaido, but maybe, you know, that's not the case. But anyway, we have Zunisha here. Zunisha could be a means of transport for the people of Wano to get away.
I mean, it could be that as well. Yeah, which would also, I guess, also make thematic sense, and that would also be good in the sense of having like some place that's free from Kaido, right? That they could create like a new Wano on the back of Zunisha as part of Zou, when you already have that family tie with the Kozuki clan and with I mean. I'm not against that idea either, but I do also think like,
it's a cake and eat it too situation.
Yeah,
you get the world government collecting Wano and giving that meaning that we have to get it back.
There is a 30-kilometer tall elephant right there. They're fine. They don't have to worry about any. They don't have to worry about any grand fleets coming in there.
King, 35 kilometers.
30. There you go. 35-kilometer tall elephant. Okay.
I'm also in total agreement with Brago, where like there has to be a big name on that ship. If there's not, I could easily see that being solved with a single swipe of the trunk of Zunisha, wiping out all the rest of the
ship. If Vegapunk is not one of the people on those ships, then
I was just about to say that.
Then Momonosuke is definitely joining, because there's a story connection there. We're not going to be able to have Vegapunk without him having a conversation with Momonosuke, Sanji, and Frankie.
Yes,
I think it makes a lot of sense for Vegapunk to be there, because this would be the first major test, or one of the first major tests of the SSG. He would want to be there for the field test to see what it's capable of, doing and stuff.
Exactly. Not seeing the SSG to begin with would be a travesty with how much Kaido hyped it up when he was talking about the new Onigashima initiative. The world government has something that they think can take me on. So
I guess not only that, they feel like they can replace like the world's strongest swordsman, right? Like, you're like,
I think it is like the SSG, a passing.
I think it's good smiles. All right.
Oh, okay.
These are real artificial devil fruits put into marine soldiers or marine robots. Pacifistas. We've already
giving them multiple abilities, even if they have devil fruits already. I think.
The end of this week's chapter was one of the craziest things I have ever read, man. And then on top of that, the incredible speculation from the community, the theories, everyone coming together. This is why the weekly One Piece experience is so special to so many of us. But on top of that, for me personally, the lines that preceded the ending were just as incredible. The line, "The Drums of Liberation," has to be one of my favorite lines ever dropped in this series. Are you kidding me? Imagine walking down the street and people are like, "Yo, you hear that?" Dun, 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 dun. And they're like, "Yo, we know who that is." They immediately pay respect. Like, hold up. You don't even gotta see his face. They just hear the man's heartbeat and they're like, "Yo, my king." Look, that's one of the goatest things I've ever seen. I can see it now. We're gonna be following a chapter through Kaido's perspective. He's gonna hear the drums of liberation, followed by a silhouette. And that silhouette is going to be Luffy from chapters 253 in the party and chapter 300 in the party. And then the following silhouette that he's going to see is the silhouette of Nika from chapter 1018. And then the next time that he looks over and he's clear as day in front of his face, that's when the audience and Kaido will see Luffy's new transformation for the first time.
This, to me, felt like a you had to be there moment. And I think the last time that I really felt like that personally was the Straw Hat reveal in Reverie, where you have Emu and the Empty Throne and all that, where everyone is confused. There's this super long break. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. So, like, what was that like for you as somebody that has been binging this series to now actually be at this point where you have to wait with the rest of us?
Yeah, it sucks.
Welcome to the fan club.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah, it super sucks.
Pick a hell of a time to pop in.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't. So I've been reading this specifically. I do readings on my Patreon. So I've been reading it with people.
Right.
But I'm not like a social media person. So I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Reddit or I don't know, whatever. So I haven't experienced the fandom very much, and I haven't experienced spoilers or hype or any of that other than just
good and bad.
Yeah.
Right. So each time I hit a huge moment, nothing happened. I hit Marineford. Every time I hit one of these, my patrons are always saying, "This was so big for the fandom. We were all losing our minds." Right, and each time I'm like, "Yeah, this is a big moment. It's good stuff. Enjoying myself."
Like,
you know what I mean?
No, the biggest
that's a part of it, though.
It is like I remember back when you had Sabo's reveal.
That's what got me into doing YouTube. Legit,
I got spoiled on Facebook.
Sabo's reveal, and then
I was watching two people. I was watching Forever World and King of Lightning in college every single week. I swear, man, I was watching the two of you do your One Piece videos, and then what ended up happening was then Sabo happened, and I'm like, oh my god, I got to talk about this online, and that's what kicked off doing all the videos. And my big moment where I think my first big reaction that popped off was 795 with the Kaido reveal being an Oni, because I was doing
that was big.
So I was like, oh my god, the Oni thing is real. But I mean, that was the moment.
That was my second chapter after making my first video. 795.
Wow. See, there you go.
Oh god, damn.
Late dress was it for
the one for me, King Randy. I know you've been reading it since then. That 1 month break between the time skip. That was fun.
Skip.
That was fun, wasn't it?
That's when I got caught up. That's when
that's perfect for you then. Yeah.
But it felt like years though.
I was just like,
I was in high school when that happened. I was a senior in high school. It was like 4 or 5 weeks. It just felt like an year.
It felt like forever.
That was a crazy one, man. Like, people were just going nuts for okay, time skip. What's gonna happen? All these dudes coming out. Like,
what are they going to look like?
The hype was real. I mean, there wasn't much YouTube back then. It was all forums. I go back to R1
and King. I think you and me started the same time. I think I started in June. You started in July or whatever.
Yeah, very close to it. Because I remember that was when we started to really do that's when the YouTubers started to come out and
2011.
Yeah. You're right. Like there was still, like, a lot of form stuff, but that's when we started to really come out to the work. And it was a crazy time because there were so many different theories and expectations going into the time skip. When we got to the time skip and we found like Luffy's new form, we started to see a lot more hockey stuff. That's when Luffy started to harden. Oh, vulcanization.
Yeah.
It's like we're here.
Alpha too late 17.
Yo, shout out to Alpha 17 with those theories. Absolutely. Oh man, I can still picture, like, Murphy, you weren't there, but like if you could just imagine the most clickbait thumbnails on the planet, and the title being like Gear 5 revealed parentheses chapter 1000 plus
some 1000
all in capitals with no less than 17 exclamation points. It was wild.
It
was a time to be alive.
Oh man, dude, it was it was.
God, we're old. We're old. Yeah,
I know.
As bad as it can be sometimes with like social media, it is enhanced just One Piece, and it's made this a much greater thing for me.
If you need proof of that,
that was beautiful, Brago. That was beautiful.
If you want proof of that, go watch my review for 1042 and then watch my review for 1043. Just like the juxtaposition of me, like, if this is Flampe 2.0, I'm telling you. So literally 1043, I'm breaking down in tears. People are becoming members and like saying all this kind of stuff. I mean, it really is. It goes in waves, and you take the good with the bad. But like, it really is unlike anything else.
I gotta say, the week that we finally get the reveal of the One Piece, I think I'm gonna go camping and just be out in the woods away from the internet for a week, and then come back and just do the review, because that,
I will say, Brago, that's absolutely been the experience I've had so far, just in my little bubble with people commenting on my videos. I've really felt so welcomed by the fandom, the theories that people add to the things that I say. Like, it's been an amazing experience, and I've said this to, I don't know if I've ever said this online, but I've said this to my friends several times, that a big part of why One Piece has become one of my favorite series of all time, being an exclusive novel reader before I got into One Piece. This is my introduction to manga, just about. I mean, not completely, but pretty much.
It's all down here.
And now it's become shares the #1 spot with what was and still is my favorite series, but like they're tied to me now.
I'm still gonna read it. I have not forgotten. So.
What is this series?
I recommend my favorite to you. My favorite is Gentlemen Bastards. Read that instead.
Okay,
but anyway. With it being tied, it's largely because Oda wrote a phenomenal story with incredible characters, and like he's done an amazing job. But it's largely because the experience that the fandom has brought.
Yeah.
I think you're right that I would only get more of that if I branched out further.
For sure.
I just have to protect my mental health, and so I still.
That's also kind of important.
Very respectful.
I respect that 100%. But I just gotta say,
like being real, Murphy, like this, because it's great fandom. People are awesome,
of course.
But then there's always going to be those guys that slide in, that are just going to just grind you down. Like, this is a problem, that's a problem, blah 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 blah.
And I mean, like, you have
it's always like amplified, like the next level. Like for me, it's like what I do after a chapter's release or a spoiler's release. Shut it down. I don't care about Twitter. I'm done. Like, I don't want to see anything.
You just gotta go away from Twitter.
I moderate. It's like, yo, mute that. Like, but ban this dude. I don't want to see anything.
Yeah.
So
I usually just what's ridiculous. Your favorite popcorn flavors or whatever. That's usually what I use Twitter for.
Like sometimes you need the war drums.
But I mean, like, Murphy, you have a family, so it's probably best to minimize the amount of social media. Oh God, I can't even imagine.
I would say a lot of people in my comment section or on Twitter, they talk about Murphy all the time.
Oh yeah, constantly.
I see, like, hey, Murphy Napier, she's reading the stories. You can check her out.
I mean, literally, that's
I'm glad you think
they love you in the community.
Oh yeah, people adore you. I mean, it's at the point. I talked to you about this when we did that 1v1 discussion a couple months ago. But it was like the entire community, like, absolutely adores you. It's the kind of thing where they're like, because you're binging it in a way where you are, because you're removed from manga, right? Because you don't have that preconceived notion of like what to expect from Naruto or Bleach or Dragon Ball. Right. It's a totally new perspective, and I think that's what's refreshing to people. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and I still think it's probably smart to avoid Twitter, though.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
I think at least Twitter. Yeah, use it for your.
I use Twitter to the utmost minimum.
Right. Well, guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I know people are going to get a kick out of this when it goes up on Sunday. Where can everybody find you? I feel like everybody in here, you're all goats. I feel like everyone knows where to find you. But King, Murphy, Randy, Tekking, Brago, of course, all your links will be in the description below. Everyone can go follow and subscribe to you. Make sure you are, because they are some of my absolute favorite people in this community. Thank you once again for joining me. And until next time, we will talk to you guys later. The sun will rise again. The new dawn.
Dawn of a new age.
We're dawn.
Join us.
All right.